Okay, so this lesson now is we've looked at unit pricing, we've looked at calculating what the best purchase price is. Now we're going to actually look at, you see something on the shelf and you're not necessarily paying what's on the price tag. When you take it to the till and you pay for it, you may have to include what we call taxes on it. So you might have to pay a PST and or a GST. So when we look at these two items, depending on what you're purchasing, you may have to pay for or use both taxes might get included, sometimes only one. So when you're buying groceries, essential items like that to survive, you won't have to pay a tax necessarily, a PST on it or a GST on it. So you've got, sometimes those things will come up where you don't have to pay both taxes on them. A GST basically is from the government. Everybody, all Canadians will pay for it, and it is what we look at as 5% right now. Now that changes. Different government comes in or comes budget time. Sometimes if they feel like they need more tax revenue, they may increase the GST. PST is what we call a provincial sales tax. So this is each province will have their own based on their economic situation in their own province. Right now in Saskatchewan, we currently have a PST of 6% that we get charged when we purchase certain items. Now, other provinces, if we want to take a look, other provinces have a higher PST, or some don't even have a PST. So look at Alberta, for example. They don't have a PST at all. It's sitting at 0%, but they still have to pay, people that purchase in Alberta still have to pay a 5% GST. So everybody has different values. So look, BC is sitting at 7%. New Brunswick is sitting at 10% for PST. So they vary all over the place. So depending on which province you're in and you go to buy something, you have to understand that some places have a PST, some places don't, but everybody has a GST. You will for surely be paying 5% in tax on some purchases. So let's have a look to see how we go ahead and calculate that. Max Corner Store sells hard hats for $49.95. What would a customer's total cost be, including PST and GST? So in this instance, we're going to pretend that this is in Saskatchewan, and we're going to have a PST of 6%, and we've got our GST at 5%. So, unless it states otherwise, we're going with the assumption that we're dealing with what we're working with within our province, 6% and 5%. One of the things to take note as you go ahead and do these is you're basically finding the percentage, the tax of whatever your cost of your item that you're buying, or total cost. Maybe you bought groceries or bought a whole bunch of items at a store. You're going to add up all those items, and then you're going to worry about the tax piece of it. So, because if you look on your receipts, whenever you buy something, you'll see everything that you purchased will all be added up first, and then your calculation of your taxes will happen in the end. So in this case, because there's only one item for $49.95, we have to figure out what the GST cost is, and we're going to have to figure out what the PST cost is. So once we know those two individual costs of what that tax is, then we can add all the two taxes together with the cost of the item, and that will give us our total cost. So initially, trying to think back to, doing income tax and all those deductions when we, working on that, you go through, this is a percentage again. So remember, percentage is always divided by 100. So in this case, it would be 0.06. And if we take the 5 divided by 100, you're looking at 0.05. So in this case, GST is 5%. So we're going to times by 0.05. And when we do that, we take $49.95 times 0.05, we get 2.4 497. Okay, so again, we have that lovely, we have to do some rounding here. So this is an interesting situation because this 7 is larger than 5, so we know it's going to bump the 9 up. But the 9 gets bumped up to a 10, which makes this a 0, which means we're going to end up adding the 1 on here. So this really becomes $2.50. So the amount of tax, GST, that we are paying on this hard hat will be $2.50. So we're going to have to include that to the cost of our item. Now we do the same thing for PST. So this time we're going to multiply by 0.06. So if I take 0.06 times the 49.95, I am getting 299.7. So here's another one of these these are some good rounding ones that we have in this question. So again, same thing, 2 decimal places, but I'm going to the third one. Now watch what happens. So this 7, this is going to bump this 9 up 1, which makes it 10, which means I'm going to bump this 9, which makes adding another 1 to it makes it 10, which means then I'm going to have to put that 1 over here. So really, I've got $3 in tax for GST or for PST. So now what I want to do, my total cost is taking the $49.95 plus the $2.50 for the GST plus the $3 for the PST. And when I add all of that together, so $49.95 plus the $2.50 plus the 3, and I am getting a grand total that when you get to the till, you're going to have to pay $55.45. So never assume what's on the tag is what you're actually going to pay when you get up to the till. Okay, let's look at the next one. Max Corner Store sells bags of milk for $4.10. What would a customer's total cost be, including GST and QST? Okay, so this one gets specific into what QST, meaning that will be, and just let me look this up, off of our sheet, our little sheet that we would have had. QST is 9.975. So that was off of the previous sheet that we had. That's the percentage for QST. And again, GST, 5%. So this is, say you go to Quebec. You go to buy the milk, you're paying a little bit higher percentage than what we're used to paying in terms of our provincial tax, but the process is still going to be the same. So we're going to find our GST, and then we're going to find our QST. So GST first, you're going to take the $4.10, and you're going to times it by the 0.05, because you're taking that percentage and dividing it by 100. So 410 times 0.05, which gives me 0.205. Let me just make sure I did that right. Okay, so 2 decimal places means that this is a 5, the third decimal place is a 5, so it's going to bump up. So this is going to become 0.21. Okay, so that's the tax you're going to pay on that milk. And now QST, so 410 again. Now this 9.975, I divide that by 100. I'm going to get 0.09975. So if I take that 0.09975 and I times that by the $4.10, I am going to get 0.408. So if I want to make sure I'm dealing 2 decimal places here, again, the third decimal is larger than 5. So that's going to bump this 0 up 1. So that means I am going to have a tax of 0.41, which is 41 cents. So now I want to find the total. I'm going to take my milk that I'm purchasing at $4.10 plus the GST of 21 cents plus the QST of 41 cents. So now if I take all of those and add them together, I am going to get $4.72. So the cost of that bag of milk is not $4.10. It works out to $4.72. Okay. Max Corner Store buys a shipment of snowboards out of Alberta. The cost of the snowboards are $13,253.75. Alberta does not have PST. What will the total cost of the snowboards be? Okay, so that's interesting. So the only thing then, if we're not dealing with a provincial sales tax, we know for sure we're still going to deal with the GST. Okay, so we have to look at that federal sales tax. So that means we're going to take that 13,000. We got to figure out how much tax is on this $13,253.75. So my GST being 5%, and if I divide that by 100, I'm going to have 0.05. So I take the 13,253.75 times 0.05, and I have to pay, holy doodles, $662, and I've got 687. So in this case, 2 decimal places, go to the third one, larger than 5, it's going to bump that 8 up by 1. So now I'm really looking at a tax of $662.69. That's the tax that is on the cost of these snowboards. So now they're not paying just $13,000. The total cost is $13,253.75 plus the cost of that, the GST, the tax of that, which is $662.69. When I add those together, I get a grand total of $13,916.44. So you have to consider the more you buy, the larger your values are, the larger your dollar amount is, the larger the amount of tax you're going to pay on it, right? So just take that into consideration when you're purchasing something. You have to understand that the amount of tax you're putting on it is going to increase with the amount that you're buying. And that is it for PST and GST. Now you can go practice.